Good afternoon. The time is 1 p.m. I call to order the June 2019 meeting of the California Contractors State License Board. Vice Chair Johnny Simpson, can you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please stand.
Thank you. Felice, can you please call roll call?
Marla Richardson,
Aye.
Kevin Albanese, here. Frank Altamira,
Here.
Augie Beltran, here. David Del Torre,
Here.
Dave Diaz,
Here.
Susan Granzella, here. Joan Hancock, here. Mike Layden, here. Frank Shatter, here. Johnny
Here.
Springer, here. We have a quorum.
Next is agenda item B, the presentation of certificates of recognition for two outgoing board members, Frank Shetter and Joan Hancock. First, I will start with Frank Shetter. Frank was appointed by the board, Frank was appointed to the board by former Governor Jerry Brown 8 years ago in August 2011. He was reappointed in June 2015. Frank is a licensed electrical contractor, served as one of two specialty contractors on the board. During his time on the board, Frank was a mainstay on both the licensing and enforcement committees, serving on licensing for all 8 years and on the enforcement committee for 7 years. Frank has served as the chair of the licensing committee for 2 years. This past year, Frank also got a change of pace and served on the public affairs committee. Frank is an industry leader who brought a wealth of knowledge to the board and understood the board's priority and public protection. Frank?
You want me to say something?
Not yet. I just want to say thank you for your commitment to the board and your experience, and actually even taking us to the stadium that one time. That was a great experience. So thank you for everything that you've done for the industry and again for the board. And I'm sorry to see you go. And would you like to say anything?
Well, I want to thank staff and all the chiefs of departments for all their help and helping me through these 8 years. And I tell you what, 8 years seem to go by very fast. Tanya and Dave especially, thank you. You've done a great job. I appreciate my opportunity to serve here. So thank you very much.
So I'm going to read this plaque. Contractor State License Board. Thanks, Frank Shetter, Board Member 2011 through 2019, in recognition of your outstanding contributions to the Contractor State License Board, the people of California, and the construction industry. Thank you for a job well done. Are there any board members that would like to make any comments for Frank?
Sure, I would. Frank, serving with you has been wonderful. And I adore your wife, Jackie, and thank you for entertaining the two of us that one night. And most of all, thank you for getting me to the one board meeting in South San Francisco. I was sick as a dog, and we met at your house, and you drove me both ways, and you were so modest about the whole thing. And then I found out a week later that you came down with whatever I had. But anyway, it's been such a joy to serve with you, and I just appreciate your passion for what you do, and I look to the future for the four of us going out again.
That's right.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say, Frank, that similar to Joan, thank you for, you've assisted me a few times, and then on the rental car, the one-time trip to the airport, that was pretty exciting adventure there. But I too appreciate your passion and dedication to your background and to your field, and making sure you point out and you always come prepared with your agenda and bring up some great points. And it's been really a great pleasure working with you, and I wish you the best of luck.
Frank, thank you for all your service. It's been great working with you. I think me, you, and Joan are the three longest tenured people on the board, if I'm not mistaken. And so I'll be in your seat, I guess, next year. But no, thank you for your service. And I know, Joan, you're coming up real soon. And I'll give you a comment then.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Frank as well. When I came on the board, not knowing much, just trying to get that learning curve taken care of quickly, and Frank was always there to lend a hand and let me know what's going on, and served on a couple of committees with you, Frank, and your knowledge is just unbelievable, and I just want to thank you for everything you did, helping us along and showing everybody the way.
I'd like to echo everything. I know Frank and I didn't always agree on everything, but when we did so, it was respectful, but there was also no games. Frank has always been just very candid and honest about his feelings and what he thinks, and I really appreciated that and enjoyed serving with you, Frank. Thank you for all you've done for the board and for the industry.
Yeah, I would just like to thank Frank, especially on behalf of the staff. Frank brought a lot of industry knowledge to the board. He was always available to staff, and he really understood the need to protect the integrity of the industry. Even today, we've had the chance to talk about a contractor that may be abandoning a job. He understood the need for a contractor to honor the commitment. So thank you, Frank.
Are there any public comments? Next, we will recognize Joan Hancock. Joan was appointed by the board, then Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger back in 2007. She was reappointed by Governor Jerry Brown in July 2011, and again in June 2015. During her almost 12 years on the board, Joan was tireless in her devotion to the CSLB staff, this board, and the protection of California consumers. Joan also has some pretty impressive numbers. Joan served on the Public Affairs Committee 7 times, including 2 times as the chair, 7 times on the Legislative Committee, including 1 year as chair, 3 times on the Licensing Committee, with 2 of those years being the chair, once on the Enforcement Committee, and she also served on the Executive Committee for 4 years, including serving as board chair from 2013 to 2014. Joan, thank you again for your service and your passion, and for all the times you pulled me aside to make sure that I was straight in whatever way that may have meant, depending on the issue. I appreciate all of that. You're the only person that I always run into when it's time to eat. That's kind of odd, but I see you all the time. You're always present, and you're always involved, and I appreciate that. Is there any other board members that have any comments?
I give the same message. No, just your dedication and passionate, and do tend to be long. No, you do your research, and you do come in, and we appreciate that because you bring up some good points and some real good thoughts for us to look at in here. And I do wish you the best of luck. I think it's been great working with you.
Joan, you've been on here longer, only one been on this board longer than me. When I first came in as a little rookie back in 2011, you showed me the ropes. You gave me a contractor's perspective that actually I didn't know. I've always been from labor. And it really helped out. And even lately with this new deal with trying to maybe have another kind of mini B license thing that we're talking about. And I don't know about the structural aspects of a B license. You do, you put that information to me, and that really is helpful, and I really appreciate all that you've done that way, and it's been great. And it was really, I believe I followed you as chair, right? That was really tough. So thank you so much for being here.
Joan, I think you were chair when I first got on, and I've learned a lot from you. I think your commitment to the board, to the consumer, your understanding of the law, how it applies in real world, not just to the contractor, but also the consumer is exceptional. And we're going to miss you, and I know the people of California really appreciate what you've done on this board, and I've really enjoyed working with you. So thank you very much. Best of luck.
Okay, my turn. I just wanted to say thank you for being patient. That first year when you're here, you were very good. And when we took a walk and I showed you the construction in my backyard, you immediately took off on how many drains there were and what was going. And it's like, geez, can we have a regular conversation? But I also wanted to add that with Pastor Herrera's retirement, we all worried about who would be the detail person on the questions for all of the things, and you took that up. You were always asking the questions again that maybe we didn't anticipate, and it was always a good discussion. So thank you for your dedication and for helping all of us when we are new on the board. Thank you.
Yeah, I too would like to thank Joan and for all her patience, and I can't tell you how many times she said I'm a very literal person, and we would look at it from all different angles and come to the right conclusion. She also was a real leader with outreach and protecting consumers before they get harmed. So I just want to thank you for all the time that you've spent helping us to do a better job. Thank you, Joan.
And I saved you for last, Joan.
All right, well, Nancy's right, I'm long-winded, so here goes. But first, I want to introduce my partner of 35 years in the audience in that beautiful pink jacket. Stand up. So that's Kathy Jett, and she's a former undersecretary for California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, and also as a director 3 different times for the Attorney General's office and for the Alcohol and Drug Prevention Group, and she's telling me to just cut it. But I gotta tell you, it's really important because she's a true public servant, and so that is where I got my role modeling from, and also my initiation into government, and it was so important because she really helped me understand the ropes. So thank you. I want to just really quickly say a few things that I think are important. Well, first of all, I want to tell you, when I got on the staff, the chair was Jim Miller, and I know you know him because he was Calbo, and you remember him from being on the board, and you might. But he was open arms, welcome aboard, and that kind of set the tone for the staff, and or for the board, and for you as all my colleagues. It's always been like that. We've always been able to collaborate, and I'm mentioning a couple of these people that are no longer here. One was, now I've forgotten his name, the fellow that was the contractor from Southern California. He did the horizontal highways. It'll come to me after. But anyway, his thing was, who was it? Mark Thurman? No, not Mark Thurman. It was, I had it written down, of course. Whoa. Steve Mattich, who said that. Thank you. Of course, Rick would remember. That's your job. Anyway, he said, we make our friends before we need them. He was so great in terms of working with the legislature, and I just want us all to remember that, because we've really leaned on a few people that have really helped us deliver the message, one of whom, Dave Jones, our former insurance commissioner, and all the work and his importance, and Rick knows him well because of all the disaster work. I also want to comment, true to my heart, and what I believe and what I learned also from Kathy was that line level staff, they really make up what, they're our foundation, to use a construction term. That's how I see them. And without them, we're nothing. Former colleague Bob Lamb, who was also on this board, he was so good with staff, and he always wanted to make sure that they were included. So I want you guys to remember that. It's just important to recognize them all the time. They're resourceful, they're our first responders, they're the ones that answer the phone for the call center. And our line level staff here today includes Felice Jones, who is probably the best executive secretary I've seen come across this board in the entire 11 years I've been here. You don't miss a trick. I want to recognize you, Christy, for keeping us safe. You are so smart. I think you are a brilliant legal counsel, and I want to thank you because I know at times you were not appreciated for the things that you have brought to this board, the adherence and making us conform to Bagley, Keene, and always protecting us. And guys, that's what she's here for. She's protecting us. Tanya, thank you. You are going to make a great director or registrar one of these days. I see it happening. And and Frank, you're new to the board. I'm sorry I can't stick around to, but you got some great people you're going to work with, and it's so nice to meet you. Mike Layton, you are just right down to earth. I love you, and I am going to miss you. Who's down there? Susan, we're going to have dinner together soon with Linda. And Kevin, you are a wonderful chair, and I salute you. And when you came on the board, you lost your dad, and I will never forget that. And you came back with a vengeance, and you really, you just, I don't know, you elevated this board. You really made it very professional, and I know your work. You're a huge contractor, and I know your work has allowed you to do this. And Johnny Simpson, you are a tough dude, and I really like you. We've had conversations in the past, and I'm going to miss you.
I feel the same way.
Marla, I'm so proud you're my chair. Our first woman of color to be the chair of this board. It's just such an honor to be here and work with you, so thank you. David, what can I say? You're the 24-hour man, and I've never seen anybody work as hard as you. We're so lucky to have you, and I guess what I would say is you've got some great executive staff here, people. Let them do the work. You're going to be a great leader, so thank you for tolerating all those phone calls. We already talked about you, so I'm going to wait till the four of us have dinner. This man right here, we went fisticuffs a lot. And I can't tell you what a turnaround it has been for me to see the true person with such a big heart, and I am nothing but respect for you, and I mean that, sir.
Thank you. I respect you, too.
And you, I just don't know how your family even can stand it. You can't ever be home. You're the hardest, next to Dave, maybe you're the hardest working person I've ever met. I am so going to miss you, but your presence on Calbo and as chief building inspector in Sacramento, so close to me, and all the work that you've done and the places that you go to nationally and participate in all these conferences. I don't know how you do it. I really don't. David Diaz, you are my pal, and we've had long talks about a lot of things, and you've gone through more loss personally on this board and more people than I've ever known in my life, and you keep coming back, and you always will. So you're always here. And Dave, you're the silent man. And I want you to know I have nothing but respect for labor. I've always said that labor is just like line staff. And I always knew that about the people that worked for me, how important they were nothing. So keep it up. And Chief Jay, what can I say? You have learned so quickly to, you had hard shoes to follow, with Laura, and you're really doing a great job. So you're a young guy, you're going to go really far. And Missy, we have had a lot of history. You are a leader. Take over, let him do his work, and you take over enforcement and just show us the person that we all know you are. You've done an excellent job. I'm so glad that you are Enforcement Chief. And Justin, last, you're not quite last, but we haven't had much time together, but you are also a very brilliant guy, and you are turning things around for this fine board. I just want to say goodbye to my two buddies in the back, Rick and Phil, who I met the day I got on this board, and they always show up. So anyway, I got to do it. I'm so grateful to be a former board member for the state of California. Thank you.
Now I'm going to read your plaque, Joan. Contractor State License Board thanks Joan Hancock, board member 2007 to 2009, board chair 2013 through 2014, in recognition of your outstanding contributions to the Contractor State License Board, the people of California, and the construction industry. Thank you for a job well done.
And I'd like to make one quick comment. I want to thank Joan for the kindness you showed me when I first came to the board, and the insights you gave me was very helpful. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. And to the chair, Marlo, thank you for letting me go first.
You're welcome. Moving on to agenda item C, public comment for items not on the agenda and future agenda item request. Next is agenda item C. As I just mentioned, the board values input from the public as part of its consumer protection mission and welcomes public comment on items not on today's agenda at this time. To allow the board enough time to conduct its full schedule of business, I'll be limiting public comments to 3 minutes apiece. There are a few rules that apply. First, California law prohibits board members from discussing any matter brought up during public comment. Also, we're not allowed to act on any item not on the agenda. If you want the board to discuss a topic not on the agenda, you can ask us to consider placing that issue on the agenda for a future meeting. If you have an application, complaint, or disciplinary charge pending against you before the board, we ask that you do not discuss the details of your case or pending complaint. That's because board members may be the judges and by law are not permitted to receive evidence or information that is not part of the administrative record in the case. This will not be the public's only opportunity to make comments during today's meeting. If your comments don't involve an item on the agenda, this is your opportunity to make them. Any public comment? At this time, are there any members of the public who wish to address the board or offer an agenda item for a future meeting? Do any board members have any item that they would like to place on a future agenda meeting?
Well, may I just, and it's not about a future agenda item, is this for board comment, just regular? All right, just, I think, today's the 75th anniversary of D-Day. And, who knows what this world would have been had it not been for those brave soldiers that went over there and liberated Europe and stood true. Augie's a vet. I don't know if we have any other vets on this. Nancy's a veteran, so thank you both for your service. And I think it's just important that we remember those true heroes that never made it back and did that so that we could sit here under the blankets of freedom that we enjoy. So just wanted that to be out there.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item D, public affairs, page 9 of your meeting packet. Joan Hancock is our Public Affairs Committee Chair, so we're keeping her working at her last board meeting. So Joan, if you can update the board.
Same. Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Since this is my last meeting as committee chair, I am going to introduce, they're not here, but I want to introduce our outstanding public affairs staff: Clara Goldstein, Kevin Durwa, Amber Foreman, Jane Creedler, Natalie Watmore, and Lisa Gutierrez, of course, led by our amazing Rick Lopes, Chief of Public Affairs. I also want to thank the members of this committee, Frank Altamora, David Delatorre, Michael Layton, Frank Shetter, and Nancy Springer, for your commitment to our consumer protection mission and for your support and valuable insight you provided during the year. I want to add that I hope to see one of you guys take up this position as chair of this committee. We barely got our feet wet. That last committee meeting was pretty amazing, and Rick is a great guy to work with. He'll always keep you prepared, and just dig in, lean in. Having said that, the first agenda item is D1, an update on our May 13th Public Affairs Committee meeting. At this meeting, our committee received updates and provided input on 3 of the main action items of our strategic plan. We're going to wait and update the board on these items during agenda item D3, which will take place after Chief Lopes does his update. So any comments from board members at this time? Or the public? All right, let's move to agenda item D2, the Public Affairs Program update, beginning on page 13. You'll see this itemized list A through J, and Chief of Public Affairs, Rick Lopes. Thank you.
Thanks, Joan. Thank you for the kind words. Okay, on page 15, as far as our staffing update, I'll just bring to the board's attention is we do have the newly created television specialist. The actual applications for that period close tomorrow. So we're hopeful that we're going to get some good candidates and we'll be able to move quickly to get that position filled. Our new studio and facilities back at our headquarters in Sacramento are currently under construction. So we're sure with the quality of the contractors in the state, that'll be done quickly and it'll meet code. Okay, next on online highlights, to just draw your attention, our Find My Licensed Contractor website feature. This has been in place not quite a year and a half now, and we are getting about 80,000 hits per month to that, people that are going there. This is the feature that allows them to download a personalized list of contractors in a specific area, either by city or by zip code. On page 16, as far as our public meetings, in addition to the meetings that we did as far as webcasts, we did Facebook Lives, and I'll draw attention just to the 2 that we did on April 18th. We did a couple of wildfire rebuilding workshops. And then we have another published video that you see on there also on April 18th. There was a mock utility strike, a training session that was done in Sacramento that we sent folks to, and they had a video of that, and we provided that to our employees. On page 17 with the social media highlights, the thing to bring to your attention is we are using a lot more infographics. Kevin Durwa, who actually is here helping us with our webcast today, is our new social media coordinator, and he's really taken the bull by the horns and has really done a great job with working graphics and other things into our Facebook pages, and Natalie Watmore also is working on that as well. And as you can see, it does make a difference. The use of infographics has increased our interactions by over 67% in comparison to posts. So it's little things like that that actually get more engagement, and people look at the information more when there actually is graphics and pretty things to look at. On page 18, again, there's the information you see there at the Woolsey fire rebuild. We also did a Facebook Live of a radio interview I did regards to the fires last summer in Shasta County. Moving ahead over the next couple pages, there's not really a lot to draw on the social media to bring to your attention, so I'll move to page 23. And the licensed contractor, our new newsletter actually it's being put up either today or tomorrow. It'll be online, so the new newsletter is done and ready to go. On page 24, in our senior scam stoppers, that important outreach that we do, you'll see on the chart there everything that's been done since April 5th, and that's Jane Kreidler, who was mentioned earlier, and she, as we all know, over the years has done a great job. She yesterday was in Vallejo. There's none today, but you see she actually has 2 in Southern California, so she's traveling to Southern California as we speak. She'll do one in the morning in Los Angeles, then head out to the Inland Empire and do one in the afternoon in San Bernardino. And after that, you can see the different presentations, consumer scam stoppers, booths that we've had at different events that go on to the next page. And then finally on 25, you see our intranet, which is our employee-only website. And one of the things I'll just bring to the board's attention is this is our 90th anniversary of the board, so we are doing some internal things, trying to get ready to maybe identify some former employees, try to do some interviews with them, get some content that we can present to acknowledge the 90th anniversary of the board. And that completes the public affairs update.
Any
have a
questions
question.
from the board?
Yes, Rick, what exactly does the television specialist, what are their duties going to be?
The main thing is we're going to be able to increase the abilities of the videos. Right now, the person that we had prior to Kevin coming to work for us was a woman named Ashley. You saw her, Ashley Robinson. She was here doing the webcasts. That was only a part of her job, so we were very limited on the amount of videos we could do and those kinds of interactions. By having a full-time television specialist, we're going to be able to increase not only the number of pre-produced videos, we're also planning to do a whole series of different kinds of webcasts that'll be more like webinars, that we'll do some regular schedules. We'll look to get into the world of doing audio podcasts and a bunch of other things that by having a person devoted to that, they're also going to be able to help us make sure that we're, have all the right equipment and doing everything that we can in the new studio that we're building. And also they'll be able to help us. I don't know if you saw me before the meeting doing a little bit of running around. We had some technical problems with our feed today, and so they'd be able to do that. They'd have more knowledge. We're a little bit of duct tape, which I have here somewhere, duct tape and chicken wire to make it work sometimes. So it's going to be nice to have somebody that really has that technical knowledge to be able to help us move along.
Thank you, sounds great.
Nancy?
I just wanted to say about the Twitter account, I really love the Twitter account, as you know, because I'm always feeding it back, but I think that it's great putting that information out there that way, because people are in a hurry, but you get that really good information with the link, and I'm able to always put it through the different Facebook pages as well and give information out, and I can feed that to different groups that feed it, so I mean, it's really getting the word out there, so good job on that.
Yeah, thank you. And it's one of the things that actually doesn't get a lot of notoriety, in addition to the posts that we do and people that repost things, is we get a lot of people that send us questions. And so it's turned into, in some ways, a mini call center. And I think as time goes on, you're going to see a lot more of that. So at some point, we may actually end up having to get our call center or other people if the workload increases a lot. But there's a lot of times people will submit questions to us, and we'll either answer them or guide them to the right people to help them. So we see a lot of that interaction that usually isn't noticed out by the general public.
Any other committee members? Or board members, sorry. Public comment? Anyone from the public? Okay, let's move on to the next agenda item, D3. This is the review and discussion of public affairs 2019-21 strategic plan objectives on page 29. The three items we covered in our committee meeting last month were items 4.2, 4.4, and 4.6. For item 4.2, Public Affairs and Enforcement staff have met and agreed upon elements that will be included in a formal disaster response plan. These elements include team assignments and responsibilities, staff cross-training, partnership development, assistance center staffing, media outreach, rebuilding workshops, and enforcement efforts, including sweeps and stings. I'm just going to hold up for a second and ask, I had a question, Rick. With regard to the staff cross-training, what is shared in these cross-training activities between the two?
What we're trying to do is we're trying to get into a position, what happened especially, well, it wasn't last year's, it was the year 2017, November 2017, when we had the rash of wildfires. That's when we had Napa and Santa Rosa. We had the bunch in Butte County and Nevada County, some down in Southern California. When we had, I think there was upwards of a dozen different assistance centers opened at the same time that we were staffing on a daily basis. The feeling is when we have resources out taking care of those, is we have to address the workload that's not getting handled. So we're looking to cross-train people to be sure that they're ready in case we have future fire or other disaster situations where we have to have multiple people assigned for a long period of time, that we might be able to better absorb the workload. So a lot of times those are going to be, a lot of the people are from enforcement that do it because of them having half the staff of the whole board is enforcement, and they're around the state. They're usually the people that get leaned on a lot. In some cases, we're able to send some licensing or administrative staff, but mostly it's enforcement staff. So there's different areas and different things that they can learn that are similar to their jobs, but a little bit different. So we want to be sure that they're trained in case we have to plug them in.
And the other question I had, unless there are any committee members who want to ask any questions about these 7 items, 8 items. It has to do with the rebuilding workshops. I am literal, rebuilding workshops. So what are we talking about?
These are workshops, we've got 2 different workshops. One is geared towards the survivors that go through the process of how to hire a contractor, the things that need to be in the contract, the things to do to protect yourselves as you're looking to hire. We also have the one that's geared towards licensees. In some cases, because of all the work that's out there, there may be a licensee who's a one-person operation. For the first time, he's thinking about maybe adding a workers' comp policy. So we work with state fund, and we have licensee people. They may want to add a classification to try to take on extra work. We go through the process of doing that. We go through the things that we tend to get complaints about to make sure they're covering these things in their contracts. Our goal there is to help them prepare in case they want to try to get this work so they're doing it legally, but also to help prepare and to prevent problems down the road by having them educated now. So that's geared more towards them and being able to make sure they can do a good job.
Is there any other, like, local agency involvement, building departments or?
Absolutely. The first speaker at any of these workshops are always going to be the local building officials, because in each different area, there's going to be very specific rules that are set up and plan checks and all the things. So they're the first ones always that are speaking and talking about what is very specific to the local area. And then we go out and then talk about license issues.
Okay, I also understand that staff is currently drafting the plan and expected to have the draft completed by the end of this month.
We're doing our best. Yes, we've got all the pieces together. It's a matter of just getting it all put together now.
Okay. Public Affairs and Enforcement staff have also met and discussed item 4.4, which is to identify opportunities to increase publicity of enforcement actions and the relaunch of CSLB's Most Wanted feature. I think that CSLB Most Wanted feature was launched when I got on the board in 2007 or 8, was it not? Yeah.
I think we reported on it at your first board meeting was the first time we announced that we launched it.
We
Yeah.
also used to have a wall of shame, and do you remember that in the conference room?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Is that-
and our Swift unit has that. There's some pieces of it left, but that would always be a hit when people were going on tours. We would be able to show them.
Yeah, well, congratulations.
Thank
I think that was really effective back then. Public Affairs will continue to issue new releases after every sting operation and on an as-needed basis to publicize other enforcement cases or as a consumer alert. Both divisions have also renewed their commitment to our Most Wanted feature, which is, oh, there it is, originally launched in 2008. We learned that in the first 6 years of existence, 18 most wanted suspects were caught, but since 2015, only 1 has been caught. 1 new suspect has already been added to the site, and another is in the process of being added. Public Affairs staff hope to formally relaunch the feature with outreach efforts as soon as this fall. Finally, item 4.6 covers outreach efforts for the industry and licensees. Our Public Affairs and IT staff are working on a new website with expanded content specifically targeting licensees and applicants. While staff hopes to have the site launched by the end of June, departure of our IT staff may delay the launch a bit. All right, board members, any comments? Any other items on the Public Affairs Strategic Plan? Any comments? 4.2, 4.4.6. Okay, any comments from the public? And Madam Chair, that concludes the Public Affairs report.